Have you ever had a traumatic experience decades and decades ago that came up for you, reignited for you in a different way years later? I recently went through that. And I know that with our healing, we have layers and layers to heal, right? When I was younger as a teen and into my early 20s, I dealt with a lot of death a friend committed suicide, a friend was shot and killed. I had classmates that were killed in various ways. It was 4 years of a lot of death of friends and classmates in the teen years that it became almost a norm, which is really sad. But when I was 20, the death that really shook me was a boyfriend of mine. I knew him in high school and we started dating a few months before I turned 21. The summer of my 20th year. We dated it wasn't long, it was a few months, but we had become close. We had our first argument the night that he died, so we never had a chance to work that out. As a 20-year-old being awakened in the middle of the night from a friend telling me, "Get up, Mike has passed, Mike has been killed." Um, Another friend came to pick me up in the middle of the night and took me to his house. I was just shocked. Oh, how did this happen? It was super traumatic for me, and for months after that, I yearned for him, I mourned him, I grieved him, I wrote poetry about him. I knew we weren't in that in love state yet, but I know we were working towards that. Would we have lasted if he lived? I don't know, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't take away the pain of losing someone that I was close with and not having explanations or closure. I became really close with his family, especially his youngest sibling. And 5 months later, I was living with a roommate, so I wasn't alone and having the alone time to cry it out a lot. And at 20 years old, I'm in college. I was starting a pre-nursing program. I just moved on with life. Even though the pain was still there, it gradually got hidden. I thought I had healed, but it was really just I had to move on, get busy, start to go out with my friends again, and it just started to get hidden. Is what I'm realizing now. 5 months later, I did start dating again. A guy initiated dating with me, and I was like, "No, I'm not ready for that." Um, but it was like the universe kept pushing him on me, and I just all of a sudden we started dating, and so I moved on with life. Had many boyfriends after that. Got married, got divorced, and then I hear recently, a couple of months ago, I think it's been actually just 5 or 6 weeks ago, I hear the news that one of the brothers of this guy that I lost, my boyfriend that I lost, passed away. And it was also a mystery. It was also a traumatic death. It wasn't a natural. Well, they didn't know, they didn't have answers. And my heart just sank. And all of a sudden, it was like, I just felt myself go through a time tunnel. Like I just, all of a sudden, I was 20 again. And I felt the pain intensely of that time. And I cried and cried. And I was like, I need to call the family. It was, I did reconnect with the family and it was part of the healing. They, are losing another family member, which I felt was a piece of Mike, my past boyfriend, losing him again. Um, and then aching for the family for losing another family member like that. And it was a lot. And as I time traveled to be 20, it was like on and off, I was 20 again, and then I was back to being 49, and then I was 20 again, crying and, like, feeling like, "Oh my god, I just lost my boyfriend," and it was just I coulda gone into a really dark place. I felt like I was in a dark place sometimes. If I didn't have a kid that I had to stay on grounded for, I probably would have really gone into a deep hole. But I chose the moments that she wasn't with me or, certain times where I felt alone for myself to cry and just hug my 20-year-old self. I did have a session with a medium that was amazing, that gave me a lot of healing because Mike came through really strongly and told me the things that I needed to hear. I just what I heard from him that really, lit up my heart was, just knowing that he is taking responsibility of not listening to me and being around people he shouldn't have been around, and also saying, the healing that's coming up right now, it was all part of the divine plan. I wasn't ready before to heal. I needed to go through life with this unhealed because of the lessons I needed, with relationships I really didn't understand. Well, I did know the fear of losing someone in my life through death would come up a lot with boyfriends, especially my recent relationship. It was like, oh my gosh, this seems too good to be true. He's probably going to die. It just, that's what would come up in my belief system. Because I can't imagine this ending. He's in a normal way is, he's probably going to be taken away from me in some way, with a death or something. So it would come up throughout relationships. And also in my late 20s, actually in my mid 20s, I developed a obsessive compulsive disorder. It was a checking disorder, and I still have it a bit, but it was really bad in my late 20s. I had to check the stove over and over. I had to check the doors over and over just to keep control of my safety and of my pets. At that time, I didn't have any kids, so I had pets that I had to keep safe. And that was my way of controlling, making sure there was not going to be a fire, there was not going to be anyone entering my house, the doors were locked. Um, I would get very nervous in cars with people back then too. It was just a need to control. I need to stay safe. And I realized later what that OCD came from, everything that I had endured younger years that I didn't heal from. I was trying to control. And so that anxiety disorder came from all that I went through that wasn't healed, right? Since then, um, I've worked a lot connecting to the divine and learning to trust myself and learning to trust the timing of things. Like there's only so much I can control. So I've really gotten that handled. But this recent trigger, this recent layer of healing that's needed to happen, I did Qigong has been a tool that I've used a lot in letting go of things. So I've done a lot of arm swings where I breathe in and I breathe out, and that's helped me a lot. But the biggest thing that's helped me is knowing that this is part of the healing journey, that there's layers, trusting that it's the timing that I need it, and hugging my 20-year-old self, my 21-year-old self too, that was going through the pain. Just imagining engulfing myself as I'm crying and telling my 20-year-old self, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You're going to get through this, and it's going to be okay. And also, at this time in my life, I'm very in tune to energy from other realms. So I've actually, over the years since he's died, I haven't felt him since the time. Like I would feel him and mourn him and grieve him and write poetry about him and us. But as I moved on, I forgot about him. I wouldn't feel him. He wouldn't come up in medium sessions I had with mediums, only a few times. But when he did come up, I didn't really feel him there. I didn't have a communication with him until this recent one, which he even said in the session when he was communicating through the medium that it had to happen now. I wasn't ready before. And so now I'm at a time where I can have a relationship with him. I feel him. I know him. I can talk to him. I had a moment where all the left side of my body was tingling. And I was just sitting on the couch watching TV, and I stopped the TV and I felt it and I leaned into it and I heard him. I felt him. And I heard him say, "Sharon, you're so nice to me. You've always been so nice to me." And that's something he did say to me back then when we worked together, but I had forgotten. I heard his voice and the way he talked, and I hadn't heard that in so long. And so now I feel him with me, and it feels like I have a deeper relationship with him now than I did when he was alive. Because at 20, dating for a few months, I mean, how deep can it get, right? And now it's a different relationship, and it feels good. And I feel like I'm moving forward now. So again, the things that helped me, the Qigong movements of release and the breath work of inhale, out, exhaling it out, hugging myself, writing journals to my 20-year self, just writing in journals, creating poetry has always been healing for me too. So if you're going through something but that's been reignited years later, a healing, another layer of healing that needs to be done at this point in your life, just know that there are so many tools and there's a big reason for it. It's not a nuisance. It's a chance, an opportunity to have more deep healing and to open your heart to what's coming for you. The new opportunities and feeling into your divine self. All of it happens for a bigger reason. And it really comes down to connecting to the way, the Tao, the divine within you, your inner powers. If you're going through something similar, really be gentle with yourself. Give yourself a hug. Have that compassion for your younger self. That's really important. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Sending you love.